All right, here we go. Late night happy hour on a Friday. Dave Koken is here. Dave, what's going on? You got action happening as we speak, as we've got the Reno
Yeah, I'm
and
going to lose this game. Reno with
across town.
just a horrible melt. They had a bad call go against them. They had a goal to go at the 1 yard line, called a fumble that wasn't a fumble. Call stood for some reason, and they just fell apart mentally. That just turned into a total melt job. And they're down 10 now, and I think San Jose might add more points to that. So this one's done. And that's the second time Nevada's kind of let it get away mentally. They did the same thing in the Hawaii game. Not as dramatic as this, but everybody raves about Norvell. But I got to tell you, when your team can't hold it together mentally, that's on the coaching staff.
So would you say he's not a candidate to move up to the next level for maybe an open job, if there's any open jobs?
Maybe he is, but if he is, I'm not sure that he's a great fit. I mean, this is a team that they should be unbeaten. I mean, they're better than San Jose State, and they're certainly better than Hawaii, and they're going to have two losses that they should have won. I mean, they were dominating this football game, and I mean, bad call or not, you can't let one call just get in your head so much mentally that you give up the game.
How many times have they thrown deep? I like that they take deep shots, but at times it breaks the rhythm of the offense.
Yeah, well, I think they've gotten frustrated and just that's an extension of the mental meltdown is now they can't, they're just taking shots.
Yeah. Wow. Dubs only 59 yards, which is for him a down night.
Yep.
Dang.
So San Jose State 6-0 now. Amazing.
Yep. It's funny. They just have the graphic up last time they went unbeaten was 1939. It was just 5-0.
Yep. They went 13-0 that year. Brennan should be the guy who's moving up. He's done a phenomenal job there. Absolutely amazing job.
Yeah, as I'd say one more year. But I don't do the hiring at these places. I do think places jump a little too quickly at guys and he has built it. But it's his fourth year. I'd make him do it another year and then move him up.
Well, I think the rest of the Mountain West Conference would disagree.
No, they'd like to get him out.
Yeah, go away. Because now he's going to start getting better players too. It used to be why would you want to go to San Jose State? Now, I'm not saying it's a target destination, but it's certainly not the worst place in the world to play.
No, not at all. No, and that's that. No. They're redoing the stadium.
Yep.
They're getting some money into the football program. It's a
Weather's
good school.
Good.
Yeah, it's a good school. It's Northern California. He can recruit all of California just like the Mountain West Conference does. The guys who don't go to the Pac-12, especially from the Bay Area, can land at San Jose State. So, yeah, why not? I mean, when I went out there last year, I thought, the facilities aren't great, but it is a nice campus. The basketball program's got a little more of a struggle. They're building so bad. But in basketball, you only need, what do you need? Three good players and then a decent core behind them, you can win. It's just the problem at San Jose State for basketball was one, coaching, has been coaching. But the other problem is they have to re-recruit the goddamn team every year.
Yeah.
To get them to come back. I mean, they've had so many good players leave, led by Brandon Clark, who went on to Gonzaga and was, turned out to be a top 15 pick. And hell, this year or last year, they had a kid, Noah Bauman, outside shooter, beginning of his career, and he winds up transferring and lands at USC. So we'll see what happens. So now they're reviewing the play. This will keep the drive going.
Oh my God, this game is taking. It's 3.5 hours already. The reviews in this game have been forever, just one after another. They've gotten a couple of them wrong, including probably the biggest play of the game. Mountain West Conference officiating continues to be really subpar. I mean, you could say that none of the officiating is great, but I'm not sure there's any worse than the Mountain West. The MAC's right there with them, but you got to do better. Got to do better than this crew has. This has been a bad job tonight.
I've seen it. They blew out the one side of the stadium. They're doing improvements. It's weird.
Well, Nevada's a team I'll be looking. I mean, I'm not going to chisel this in stone, but they'll be a team I'll be looking to go against in a bowl game. They're not ending the season well. I think it's fair to say that they're not the most mentally stable team you'd ever want to see. And they look like a team, they take a bowl bid, certainly get an invite. They might be a team that I'm going against. Depends who the matchup is, obviously, but not impressed with the team from the neck up.
Dang, Dave, dropping the hammer on Reno. You idiots.
I've got +3 in the game because I bet it on Thursday morning. So I guess technically I'm still alive if they can stop San Jose State on this 4th down that's coming up.
How far out are they? I thought they were in field goal range.
No, there's no such thing as field goal range for San Jose. Their kicker's not good. It'd be a 45-yarder, I think, from where they are, and they won't try and kick. They're going to go for the 1st down. I'm not even watching it. I'm just following the play-by-play. But there's no way they're trying a 45-yard field goal.
They're going for it. It's 28-yard line, and Starkel is in the game. This will get us another Twitch violation, so we'll see what happens here. And instead of doing play-by-play, or I'll do that. I'm curious. Something just happened that might help Dave.
Oh, they didn't make it, evidently.
They did not.
Okay. Well, we'll see if we can get a backdoor push. I'll go for a backdoor push. I'd take that.
Yeah, 30-20, 2:47 left. I won't say good for San Jose State. I will not do it. Dave, I hope you get a comeback.
Oh, I'd be thrilled if I got lucky to get within 3. But I'm not real optimistic.
Well,
the team they gave up.
Yeah. Come 2 weeks from now, you'll still have a job, I think. And I don't like joking about stuff like this because it's real life. But my God, Kevin Sumlin, holy Christ!
My God. Well, that's 11 straight losses.
Yeah.
And this one was, I mean, if you want to say Nevada quit, they did, but Arizona never even got started. I mean, that was a total no-show. And well, I'm not a Sumlin guy anyway. I think I've made that clear over the years. He'll probably be. I don't think he'll get fired because there aren't too many teams doing the firing in this weird season.
Right.
But he'll certainly be on the hot seat going into next year, and they're just not getting the players there either. So he's going to lose the in-state battles. As far as recruiting goes to Herm Edwards, he's got no chance recruiting against Edwards anyway. And Arizona's, they look like the worst program in the Pac-12 now.
Are we missing one? Audience? Who's worse than Arizona?
I don't know.
Who's even in the running?
I don't know of any other team in the conference that's lost 11 in a row.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Arizona State probably gets a bowl bid at 1 and 2.
Wait a second. What?
Well, they need to fill these bowls, and you've got a lot of programs. I think it's only 2 programs so far, but it's going to be more that decide they don't want to go. Pittsburgh and Boston College have already said no. And it's not really COVID. It's sort of COVID related, but it's not. I think what you're seeing is, first of all, the minor bowls, the schools lose money with those games anyway. Secondly, the lure of the minor bowl is, chance to go play somebody good, probably in a nice weather locale in most cases. It's fun. It's exciting. But to go and play a bowl game where you're going to have to just be basically quarantined in whatever hotel you're in, not experiencing any of the things the site might have to offer, and playing a meaningless game, I don't know that I would want to take if I'm a player, I don't want to go. Screw that. I'd rather be home for the holidays, be with my family.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more than 2. I think there's going to be a bunch that say, no, thank you. That the season's already been a giant pain in the ass, and you barely limp through it if you didn't have a good one or you're 500. So, That'll be amazing, right? Trying to fill out the back end of these bowl games with
really
under 500.
I don't know what they do. I think you're going to see. I think you'll see at least 4 or 5 bowl games that just we're calling it off.
Bowl game will call it off. Wow.
Yeah. Well, Pinstripe already got postponed or canceled, right? I know there's another one, and I can't think of who it is.
But, what bowl games?
Yeah.
Oh, we're up to like 8. We're up to like 8 that were canceled, and 4 had Pac-12 tie-ins. Las Vegas, obviously.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Who said Kansas? Kansas isn't in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they misunderstood. Someone answered worse than Arizona in the Pac-12 is Washington State. Nah,
no.
Rolovich hasn't even had a chance to get rolling yet. Once he does, they'll play entertaining football, and they'll play just enough defense to erase the memories of dipshit who was up there, who's now down.
Yeah, well, Leach. The cool thing with Leach is he's going to get 1 or 2 upsets a year, but the rest of the time they're just kind of fun to watch. But that's about it. And I think that'll be his story at Mississippi State. He'll pull 1 or 2 upsets a year, and he'll lose some games he probably should win. And they'll be a 6-6 team at best.
Yeah. Benjamin, the Sun Bowl. You're right. El Paso. The Fenway Bowl got canceled. The Yankee
Fenway Bowl. I didn't even know there was a Fenway Bowl.
Yeah, they're doing a Fenway Bowl. Yeah, so no Fenway Bowl, no Pinstripe in New York. The game in San Francisco has changed its name like 12 times. That one's out. So yeah, there's a lot that have gone down already. Yeah, I will say Kansas would be better if they played in the Pac-12. Nah, they'd still get smoked.
No, they wouldn't. Kansas is one of the 10 worst programs in the country. That includes everybody. So in other words, you could put them in the Sun Belt, and they'd be a losing team in the Sun Belt.
Yeah. Every school in the Pac-12 can win because every school in the Pac-12 is in some close proximity of California. So when the big name schools in California or the Pac-12, I'm sorry, pass, then you get kids like the what's his name? Is it Jamar Jefferson, the one who's at Oregon State, the running back?
Yeah.
You're like, how the fuck did they get him? Because California has 9 billion players, so he's a Southern California guy, if I'm correct. And it's like, oh, okay, we'll come in and we'll offer, and then he lands at Oregon State. So I mean, guys that don't get offered by, Arizona State, UCLA, USC, Stanford, if you're a genius. Oregon obviously is top of the list, sadly, even for Southern California kids. They slip through the cracks, then guess what? Washington State, Oregon State can get them.
Yep.
It works.
No, and Oregon State, and Jonathan Smith's doing a terrific job at Oregon State. So, that program's rising some. I'm not going to say they're going to be a great program, but they're not dog meat anymore.
It's a minute and a half, 30-20. San Jose State is up over at Sam Boyd. Looks like they're going to close it out. 4th and 25.
Yeah, well.
So, Reno, Dunsky. By the way, in this rivalry, Reno really does like to be the prick of the rivalry, this Reno-UNLV rivalry. Did you see they had the cannon at the game tonight?
No, I didn't know that.
They brought the cannon down.
Well, I think San Jose State should lay claim to the cannon now.
Right now, they get the cannon. Neither school and state gets the cannon.
Shouldn't have brought it out of hiding.
Yep.
And San Jose State can paint it whatever color they want. Gold.
Dickheads. I love putting stuff on social media too because they always react. I forget what game it was. Was it? Yeah, it was a UNLV game. UNLV game. I don't know. I retweeted something and I was like, "Yeah, good win by Reno. That's a nice team." Blah blah blah. I think like the backup tight end fires back at me. He's like, "It's Nevada." I'm like, "Why do you guys bite every time?"
Oh, I got one from
every time
from somebody. I call them Reno, which most of us here in Las Vegas do. Yep. And somebody said it's Nevada.
Yeah.
I said, well, in Las Vegas, it's Reno.
Yep. Sorry. It's the way it works. So,
yeah.
Well, at least they acted, to my knowledge, with class so far here at Sam Boyd. Because 2 years ago, maybe it was 3 now, on a walkthrough, one of the Reno players took a piss on the field as a little jab at UNLV and a sign of disrespect. So, sorry, Dave.
Oh, I gave up on this game quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Got outscored 23-0 in the second half. Very impressive.
AJ knows the rivalry. UNR that drives him nuts. Well, what if we call you Vegas? Go ahead. We fucking love it. We like it here. There's not a sign of disrespect to go, oh, Las Vegas. Like, yeah, go ahead. Vegas, Las Vegas. Sin City, I don't give a shit. It's funny. All right, let's start rolling down the games. Let me punch up the board here. It's Koken. It's Cofield. We got some weird stuff going on, too, as we go down the board. Someone fired up the Wisconsin game. We got a lot of Big Ten people who watch. All right, Dave, what do you think? What do you think of Wisconsin?
I think Wisconsin might get themselves together and win this. They're a talented football team. They haven't played well the last couple of weeks, but where this number is, I think there's a little bit of value on Wisconsin. It's not a game that I'm going to bet. Iowa's playing pretty good football, but the Badgers are still more talented than the Hawkeyes, in my opinion.
Truth from Duluth says, if Iowa cares, and I think they will, Wisconsin has no shot. That's strong.
Well, maybe so. All right. It can happen. I'm not going to rule it out. I mean, Wisconsin was playing better early than they are now. And I think, it looks like the COVID thing where they got the cancellations really hurt them. And they haven't rebounded from it very well.
Yeah, Dave hit on this earlier that it was a bad call.
Yeah, it was a terrible call, but you can't fall apart on one bad call. It was a bad call. There's no question about that. And did it change the game? Yeah, it had a huge impact on the game. But the fact remains, you got to tough it out mentally when things don't go your way. In Nevada, UNR gave up. They literally gave up in this football game after that play. They gave up a 99-yard drive and then just mailed it in the rest of the way. If your team is that fragile that you just fall apart on one bad call, you're not a very good football team. So I'm not going to use this as an excuse for being on the loser in this game because, they played really bad football after that fumble or that non-fumble. You just got to accept bad calls. They're part of the game. And by the way, they were still ahead. They were still ahead when that happened.
Yep.
Okay, so it's like, okay, we didn't get the score there, but we're still up. Let's play tough defense, get the ball back. You give up a 99-yard drive and then just fall apart. I mean, that's being to me, I'm on the wrong side of the game.
All right, let's start going down the board. Dave, how do you think Coastal Carolina reacts after the BYU game? A little bit of a letdown.
Well,
up here, they're 13.5 against Troy.
Yeah, it might be a difficult game for them because it's not just a potential letdown. I mean, they're not going to the playoffs, obviously. And the coach is gone. He took the South Carolina job. So I don't know what kind of an impact that's going to have. But, if I'm betting the game, I'm only considering Troy here. Now, the downside of it is Troy had a bit of a misleading win last week. Not that there was anything misleading about the 29-0, but South Alabama canned their coach after the game. And when that happens, it means that he was getting fired anyway. So, it was a nice win by Troy, but they've had some bad games too. I think Troy covers. I think it's a tricky spot for Coastal Carolina. And the coaching thing is awful. I won't say awful troubling, but somewhat. I'm not saying it's not the end of the world because I think that there was a realization he was going someplace other than Coastal Carolina anyway. Yeah. But would have been nice if he finished off the season with them.
Back to the Mountain West, Boise and Wyoming. 9.5.
Wyoming gets their running back back tomorrow, so they'll be better than they were last week. That was huge.
Valladay.
That game. Yep, he's the best player on the team by a lot. Boise, I don't know how much do they care? That's the thing. It's a little different. No, it's not a little different. It's a lot different closing this season as opposed to others. Teams haven't played as many games. There's not really as much on the line as there might normally be, and it's really tough. But Wyoming's really not very good. I think Craig Ball's done a masterful job there with a limited team. Maybe he can keep them in this game, but if they fall behind early, then they're in trouble because Wyoming is not a good come-from-behind team.
What did everyone think this week about?
Oh, and I got the South Carolina. South Carolina hired Beamer.
Right. What did everyone think about the Harsin letter that emerged with him requesting or basically begging the school to get out of the Mountain West Conference? You know, around the time that the Mountain West pushed back or delayed the season or was looking at potentially canceling the season, he sends off an email and he's like, "We got to get out of here."
Where are they going to go?
Yeah, that's one thing. Is like I don't know it. We have a history in the Mountain West Conference of schools, and in this case, a coach getting a little too big for their britches. One, not realizing that no one cares about you outside of the conference. So, like Utah is a different case. Utah made it to the Pac-12. Utah's walked in. It's been competitive. It matches some of the Pac-12 principles. I think there's some problems there too, but BYU's been through this, right? We had Utah and especially BYU. You know, BYU acted like complete clunts for years and years and years about the Mountain West Conference, and they're like, "Oh, we're going to go to another conference." No one wants you. You're a boatload of trouble. You're a pain in the ass.
Well, they want to run. They want to run everything.
They want to run everything.
Yeah.
And now you got another case where the conference has kissed Boise's ass, and now Boise has a bloated ego, and Boise has the attitude like, "Oh, of course, the Pac-12 will want us. The Big 12
they won't.
Want us." I don't know. You got an offer right now?
What? Why do they want them? What, the Boise market? Utah is Salt Lake City. It's a big market.
Yeah.
That was a good get for the Pac-12. So is Colorado. They get the Denver market. Now, those are markets that pay. They make the cash register ring. Boise's a wonderful city.
It is nice.
From where I've never been there, but everybody tells me it's a great
nice.
Great place to live. But it's Boise. Okay, that's. I don't know what their market size is. It's not even top 100, is it?
I don't know.
So that that plays into it. Okay, the Pac-12's going to be laughing at that.
Yeah.
Listen, if the Pac-12 if they could say, you know what, Washington State, we really don't want you here anymore. We'd rather you be in the Mountain West because Spokane's not much of a market, and we've already got a team in Washington. They're not going to kick them out,
right?
But they'd like to trade them out, I'm sure, and pick up, I don't know, San Diego State or something, because it's
you know what?
More money. San Diego State.
Right.
San Diego State's the team that would, if the Mountain West is worried about a team leaving for the Pac-12, it's San Diego State.
Right.
Especially now that there's no pro team down there because San Diego's got them and the Padres have the whole city. If I were the Pac-12, I'd be going after San Diego State. I'd be actively recruiting San Diego State. Especially considering they've got, a great basketball program that could very well be, a number 1 or number 2 seed going into the NCAA tournament this year if they play it. Because there's a real chance they'll go unbeaten in the regular season. And the football program, not great this year, but they've had some good seasons, no question about that. And they got a new stadium being built, which is also a big plus.
There you go. Mark in Vegas doing the research. Market 102.
Okay. That's not exactly the Big 12 and Pac-12 are not going to be wildly embracing Boise State with those market numbers, okay? Yeah. They actually hurt the conference. I know that, Boise's got a good program and everything, but it would actually hurt the conference.
What are TV executives, what are they going to do? They're going to get excited and pony up more money because you get Boise?
No, they'll probably give them less.
It's like, you know what I mean? So then
we want a discount.
All the other schools have, now they're splitting about the same amount of money or barely more, so every school gets less per school. Nah.
Yeah, it's all business. Listen, Las Vegas is a better fit for the Pac-12 than Boise is. Because Las Vegas is a major market that, maybe the growth got stymied this year because of the pandemic, but, Las Vegas is a market that's moving up. Got an NHL team, got an NFL team. Las Vegas is a player now.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that anything's going to happen soon, but I think down the road at some point, Las Vegas is going to get an overture from either the Pac-12 or the Big 12.
Yeah, they've got to get a representative football program. We know.
Yes, absolutely.
5-6 wins consistently. What if it was, I guess, what would it be? BSLVU? What if they had a satellite campus at Boise in Vegas? Real small, in Vegas. Like almost like a feeder. Like it would almost be like a Boise State prep.
Like BYU's got one in Hawaii.
Just so they, and that's actually that's the Pac-12 rep, but the football team has both schools. I mean, both, has reps from, the roster is built from both markets.
Yeah, Las Vegas is 39th, but 39th with an arrow up. So Boise has limited. They're limited as to how much they can grow. I mean, what are they going to get to? 95th?
Yeah. Boy, it's funny, man. Because football, allows a lot of these small cities to kind of live the dream. And now reality's hitting as there's been a population shift. And I'm not saying this is Boise, but other small cities out there, the economy sucks. It's getting worse. They were built around a certain number of, businesses, and they're being left behind from a technological standpoint. The people who are still living there don't realize what's going on or just refuse to recognize it. And they're like, we should still be a big football program. No, you shouldn't. You were actually lucky to be at the table in the first place. The country's changing. Sorry, you're out. Not out of the conference, but you're not elite. You're not a landing spot for a lot of these big time recruits. Sorry, you're not who you thought you were.
Right. It's much different than basketball. Because basketball, you don't have to be in a monster market to make a lot of noise. I mean,
buying your way, Dave, into being a good basketball program is a whole different game.
Right.
Being competitive from a money standpoint in football. You can have a Wichita State. You could have a UNLV of the old days. You could have a Gonzaga now. Dayton in recent times. There are cities out there, and I'm not saying all those cities are small cities, but those programs could buy their way in. You can't just buy your Boise has bought its way in to this table. This is the mid-major table. So they're a top program at the mid-major level. I mean, if they were gifted to a big conference, then they would get the payout. I suppose they could stay competitive, but right now they're not there.
No, and they've had some. That's not to say they haven't had some great teams there. I mean, during the Chris Peterson day, they had some really legit top 10 teams, which was a complete fluke in terms of the way football works. They haven't been able to maintain it, despite the fact their exposure has actually grown over the years. But they still have limitations. There's a ceiling for Boise State. I think I really do feel the one program in the Mountain West that's got the biggest ceiling, and therefore we could lose them, is San Diego State. Right.
And they almost did. When the cockamamie idea came up with the Big East football, and then eventually Big East football broke up. But I mean, the notion that San Diego State was going to be in the Big East was just lunacy. But they almost went. So did Boise. All right, Dave, going down the rest of the board. I mean, it's an earlier game now. I don't think that matters. Baylor is +5 against Oklahoma State. Can you judge Baylor and Aranda off this season?
No.
Okay.
That game's been moved, by the way. It's still being played tomorrow, but the time changed.
Right.
Oklahoma State. I think I've been right about Oklahoma State. I don't think I think they've got a lot of talent, but I still think there's fallout from the Gundy thing. They haven't put it together really the way they should all season. And I wonder if he's going to be there past this year. I'm not certain he'll be back. Baylor, this was going to be a down year for Baylor, and it has been. They'll get better next year. Listen, the coaching change was difficult because they lose a really premier coach. And they lost so many players from last year's team that there had to be a decline this season, and it's taken place. But Baylor's probably in good shape moving forward. As for tomorrow, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of games tomorrow you're going to get I don't knows on because they're garbage games, and we don't even know if they're playing for bowls. There's certain teams, like Kansas State, they want to play in a bowl. So even though I think they're 4-6, they're going to get a bowl bid. But I don't know about a lot of these other programs because their coaches haven't been as vocal about it. The Kansas State coaches said, "Oh, we want to play in a bowl game." All right, so they'll go at 4-6. I don't know that Baylor is going, and I don't know that Oklahoma State's going. To be honest with you, it'll be really interesting to see how many of these teams, just the players, decide, "Yeah, we've that's enough. We don't want to play anymore."
And folks, the players have power now. They have power.
Well, not only that, but you're going to see, in the case of upperclassmen on a lot of these teams, if you have there's going to be a tidal wave of grad transfers, and for those guys, kind of not a good idea to take any risk in a meaningless bowl game. Yeah, well, I wouldn't. I mean, I look at things from my own perspective. If I've got a chance to go play someplace else, especially since I might not be in the mix moving forward, they're going to bring in younger players to play. I'm not taking any chances playing a bowl game where I might get hurt and lose my free season someplace else. Because remember, every senior this year in college football can come back and play next year.
Yep, they can play, they can walk. The coach can tell them you have no choice, get out. So I know I hadn't thought of that even the non-pro prospects who want to play one more, the non-pro prospects who want to play one more year, they're going to look at it like, hey, I'm not risking this. Especially, I don't know. I always bring this up, and I don't know how many kids care, but there are also there's a lot of kids out there who may not even look to move up a level, may actually, look to go to a better school, for the last year or two that they have some eligibility. That's why I would look at it, but I'm a little older and I've seen a little more than your average 22-year-old.
It's also the case can be made. A lot of these guys have delusions of grandeur and think if they get a chance to play more someplace else, they're going to go for it.
Yep, move up. Yep. So we talked about coaches not being judged during this COVID season, especially if they have a bad season. But how about the positives of Colorado? Colorado is basically in a +1 situation against Utah. He's done a good job.
Darrell's done a nice job. I think the team's phony. I really do. I think Utah beat him tomorrow. But he has done a nice job with the team. But they are a little bit one-dimensional. Neuer really not much of a passer. And if they can't establish the run, they're probably going to have trouble with Utah. And Utah is very good against the run. And Utah left a bad taste in people's mouths last week, up 30-10 in the fourth quarter, let the cover get away. But remember, they did win the game. So they come out of that game feeling good about themselves. And, you get the 2-2, and a 2-2 Utah team gets a good bowl bid. So this is a big game for them.
All right. Someone earlier was asking about USC and UCLA. You feel comfy laying 3.5?
I laid 2.5.
Yeah.
Comfy. I'm never comfy with Helton in big games.
Yeah. But
he's just got a better team than UCLA. Kelly's done really good. He's done a great job with this team. The get Chip out of here calls have quieted down very quickly. They're playing exciting football and they're playing well. And this would be a huge win for them tomorrow. But I kind of disagree with what looked like some sharp money came in early on UCLA this week, but I think the Trojans just have a little too much personnel, and they are off their best game of the year. I mean, they were. I know it was Washington State, I think, but they were really good last week, really good. And look, not for nothing, but USC is unbeaten, and at least if they win this game, I don't think they're going to move into a playoff spot, but they can start squawking about it at least and saying, "Hey, what about us?"
Let's do some SEC. Alabama, Arkansas. I floated this out to our other gambling experts that, hey, Mac Jones is in a Heisman race, right?
Yep.
Alabama, if it wanted to, could try to roll it up, throw it all over the place. Or will Saban not do that? They're laying 32.5 against Arkansas.
Yeah, I don't know that they'll cover this game. They just want to get the win and move on. At this point, I think Jones is the favorite for the Heisman, unless they lose the playoff game. Because that's what it comes down to. The Heisman race is now next week. between Alabama and Florida. If Trask has a really good game where Florida pulls the upset, then Trask probably gets the Heisman. Otherwise, I think it's going to be Jones. So just get out there, win the game by 20, whatever, and that's probably good enough. And Arkansas, I'll give them this. I mean, they are trying like crazy. They've shown some improvement this season. This is not the Bielema squad of a few years ago that was just kind of mailing things in. I liked what I've seen from Arkansas this year. Obviously not contenders in the SEC, but there's an arrow up on the program at least.
Yeah, someone has a good question going back to the beginning of the show and us tracking San Jose State and Reno. What about Brent Brennan up to Arizona?
I don't think they'll fire someone.
Yeah.
Do I think it'd be a good fit? Yeah. Anybody would be a good fit. They could bring back Rich Rod and he'd be a good fit. I mean, they weren't this bad when he was there. But no, I think someone will be back for another season. If I'm wrong, it's just a guess. I don't have any inside information. But I just don't think you're going to see a lot of guys fired this season. You'll see a few, but I don't know what someone's contract status is anyway. They'd have to probably give him a pretty good sized buyout.
What about truth here with the Bama first half?
It's an awful lot of points.
Okay.
And look, their big game is next week. Okay. And their other big game was last week because they wanted to beat the shit out of LSU, and they did.
Right.
That was a game that really meant something. I mean, this is a sandwich for Alabama, and even the best teams sometimes don't play their best ball.
Right.
In spots like this.
LSU. That's funny, isn't it? Self-imposing a 1-year bowl ban. They're dealing with issues that are at the state level, and who knows? Louisiana could be corrupt enough that they forgive a rape and sexual assault culture that's going down at LSU. The NCAA's all over them for cheating, recently and going back to the old era. Orgeron was talking shit last year all over the place about Alabama. That one was just set up. That was ripe.
Oh,
Saban's like, we are going to freaking break your neck, brother.
Yep. They weren't kidding around last week. Any thoughts on Blake Anderson to Utah State? I'm not sure it's going to happen. I know he's been offered and he's accepted.
You think he gets scared away?
I don't know. This is a pretty bad thing with Utah State. Basically, it was a unanimous vote. The players voted to not play tomorrow. They're boycotting the football game. If I'm Blake Anderson, I might rethink it.
Yeah, they have the deal here is they have an interim coach in place in Frank Miley. They had a student and bosses meet up to talk about the coaching situation, and they brought up issues with Miley about religious and cultural concerns. Okay.
And it did not go over well with the players.
And in Utah, you know what that means.
Yep.
So the players freaking got pissed, and they're like, yeah, we're not playing. You know what? Here's the thing. I actually think I think, and it's, it's a weird way for it to go down. I think it's a blessing in disguise for Anderson. Did he really know what he was walking into there? Like all the, all the complications and politics and things you got to deal with at Utah State?
I don't know. And I don't know what his background is. Maybe he's Mormon. I have no idea. I do know that Utah State is a lock on hiring coaches named Anderson. I mean, they hired the same Anderson twice, now another Anderson. He's done a good job at Arkansas State. Last year, he overcame some really tough circumstances. His wife died from cancer during the season. And things weren't as good this year for Arkansas State, but he's done a nice job at that program in his 7 years there. And listen, I think he could probably get another job if he decides.
I don't get the leap. Like, I think he doesn't need to go to this level. To me, he's like, he would be a guy who'd be in the running for Arizona. And the other part of it is, and again, I don't know his total background, but looking at his background, he did spend a couple of years out this way, in the conference or the region at New Mexico. But beyond that, it's Middle Tennessee, Lafayette, Southern Miss, North Carolina, then Arkansas State. Like I don't even get why he'd be that fired up to leave his home area. And he was born in Jonesboro.
Yeah,
went to Baylor, went to Sam Houston State.
It's Utah State. I mean, it's not, I know they had a nice run with the guy who's at Texas Tech now, but not what I call a great program.
Yeah, I don't know about the Mormon part. I was looking. I don't see it here, but maybe we're missing it. So, and I think Miley actually is Mormon. I noticed that he went on a mission. So who knows? We'll delve into that more. But the game goes bye-bye, and good guy Steve Adazio loses another game. So they lost a bunch of games, through their own doing, and they got screwed out of other games. So Adazio
with four games.
They played 4 games. Yeah, 4 games.
Well, they're still everybody's bowl eligible, and it might well be that under the circumstances, that might be a team that wants to get another game in because they sure didn't get many in during the regular season. So Colorado State could very well get a bowl bid. No, records don't matter this year. Everybody's eligible to go to a bowl.
Can you imagine? That would be 1-3 Colorado State. Amazing.
Well, they're gonna have to put perfume on the letters they send out as invites because there's a lot of teams that are not going to want to go.
VTech 3 against Virginia.
Hooker's going to play in this game, Virginia Tech. That helps them. I think I lean Virginia here, though. They're on a winning streak. Bronco's doing his usual thing. Hey, boy, he's a good coach. He really is. He's one of the elite coaches, in my opinion. And Virginia Tech they've been kind of a flop. They were supposed to be better than this. I know they had a lot of problems early on with the COVID. And I think that kind of just started their season off in the wrong way, and they never really got their footing. And it's a big rivalry. Obviously, this would be a salvation for the season. But it kind of looks to me like Virginia's playing the better football right now.
Miami 3 against North Carolina.
What are you going to get? 80 in this game? This is going to be fun. They're going to be up and down the field. 2 exciting quarterbacks, 2 very good offenses, 1 really questionable defense. But I think this one's a flat toss-up. To me, you take the points or leave the game alone. And it first team to 40 wins. Maybe.
Northwestern ripe for a look ahead. Hey, what's the point against Illinois? 14?
Yeah. Just win the game is enough. And they probably will. But Illinois has had some good moments. And Lovey, I think Lovey was maybe on the hot seat going in. He's not anymore. Teams, they played some decent football, even against teams that are better than they are. They gave Iowa a fight for a while last week. Eventually, the Hawkeyes were a little too much for them. But there's been some improvement there. And Illinois would really make their season if they could beat a team going to the Big Ten title game. I think I'd lean to taking the points there.
All right. You were going to play against Vandy, right? Last week? He said it was it was a nightmare there. Players are all pissed off about the female kicker. But now you got a battle of 2 programs that are just a fucking mess. Yep. Tennessee 15.5 against Vandy.
Yeah, Tennessee might take it out on him here.
Yeah.
Vandy's really short-handed, by the way. I think they've only got like 45 scholarship players on the roster for this game. And their 45 scholarship players aren't exactly the cream of the crop. So you got 45 guys on scholarship, 6 guys and a girl on walk-ons. Now, I'm not playing them.
What else, guys? What else on the college board before we move to the NFL? I asked you today about Hawaii and UNLV, right, Dave?
Yeah. I think UNLV covers. I don't think they win, but that's a lot of points for Hawaii to lay. And I know UNLV is not very good, but they do try. And We've seen some fight out of the team. And that might be enough to keep them in the ball game against Hawaii. Hawaii's not all that good. And Hawaii's also coming off some bigger games. And this one, I don't know what this means to Hawaii. Nothing, pretty much. So
Right.
it's the kind of last game where the big favorite, not a game I'd be looking to lay points in.
Wake and Louisville.
Toss up. Louisville's had a very difficult season. A lot of things have gone wrong there. Wake Forest played okay. Better than I thought they would be. I thought Wake was going to be pretty bad this year. And Clausen's done a nice job there.
It was Wake Forest who was eliminated at the end from the Notre Dame schedule, right? Do I have that right? Wasn't that the team? They're like, you know what?
I believe so, yeah.
Notre Dame's not playing, so move on. Like, okay. Which, by the way, how entertaining was that today to watch Dabo Sweeney speak up against Ohio State getting in?
I disagree with Dabo. There are no rules this year, Dabo, okay? And what's the Big Ten supposed to say? Nah, we don't want the $15 million or whatever they get.
And clearly, Dave, there are no rules because, as I just said, the ACC rigged the end of the season to make it slightly easier, put Notre Dame at less risk.
Yeah.
So if you did it, it's different because it's more of an issue of games played. But come on, dude, that guy. Whenever you need a college coach to step up and act like a pig or show low character, he is consistently there to freaking pick up that mantle. God, he's annoying.
Flip side is Nate Oates is now my favorite coach in all sports.
You liked it?
Oh, that was great. I mean,
a lot of people saying Coach.
Because if they were unbeaten, he wouldn't have canceled those games.
Yeah, I took up the side of Coach K, and I'm trying to think who else was talking about that. It might have been a college football coach. They weren't having a good season. I also, Dave, I think they're seeing things as it goes along. And yeah, the winning thing might be it, but they're seeing things with how hard it is to get through this.
Oh, it is. Yes, absolutely.
It's deflating getting games canceled. I mean, I was going to say they put their money where their mouth was because they canceled the non-con, but they weren't playing anyone on the non-con. There was no risk.
Right. But call me cynical, but if the record is 5-0,
yeah,
instead of 3-2, whatever it is, then they're playing.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
Yeah, if Scott Drew made an impassioned case that we need to shut it down, then maybe it. And believe me, Scott Drew ain't from the past. There's some warts in the history of Scott too. So
yeah, in my opinion, to be honest with you, is that. I know it's difficult, but there's no question about that. But I think sports really are important.
Yeah.
And I want to see them continue to play. They're following protocols as well as they possibly can. I think they're doing a great job with that. And you could say, well, it's be safer. I don't know how much safer it would be, to be honest with you. And we kind of need it. Maybe I'm just saying that as a sports fan, but there's an awful lot of us out there that kind of need a diversion, and these guys fortunately they're providing it for us.
I still want it to be safe, and I don't want sports to be the end all be all. But if they can do it where it's somewhat safe, college basketball is a mess. I don't see how until the vaccines are out and widespread. I don't see how college basketball is not going to have.
It's going to be,
I don't know, 125 programs during the year out of like 350 have to pause for 2 weeks, and then I don't know what the season looks like at that point.
I don't either. It's going to be messier than college football was, and that's saying something. But before we get to the NFL, what about the NHL? Look, from a business standpoint and from a fan standpoint, from a business standpoint. Yes, absolutely. Start the season on January 13th, which is my birthday, by the way. That'd be a nice birthday present. But I got to tell you something.
Okay.
I don't really think they should. And I'm not saying that as a precautionary thing. Even if it means you back it up to March and play less games, I think by March, there's a real good chance you can have a lot of fans in the stands. To me, it's good business. You want to play more games in empty buildings? And I got to tell you something. It's one thing when you got playoff games in an empty building because they're still big games. And it's like, okay, I got to watch this in the playoffs. Regular season, NHL's regular season ratings are atrocious, okay? They are absolutely horrible. I think it's a really questionable business decision on their part to start on January 13th. I would at least back it up a month. And I'm speaking strictly from a business standpoint on that. Not my own business, but
doesn't this feel like it's
standpoint.
It's the big market and big money owners who are just kind of snuffing out the smaller cities, and the poorer owners are like, fuck you, we have to go. We have an advertising base, we can still do okay out of this. And those smaller cities, like, there's no way to make up any money, not even a portion of it.
Nope. Well, and listen, I'm not sure how it impacts the Golden Knights, because this is a city that has completely embraced this team, but they really pack the place every game. That is the toughest ticket in town. And we see what the prices go for, especially when it's a big game, when it's a big opponent. Those prices are really expensive if you want to buy a ticket, and the demand's just not going to be there. I mean, Las Vegas, we'll still watch the games, but I'm not sure with a lot of other fan bases, they might not even watch the games. And that to me is, I don't know. If you can wait 6 weeks and by that time at least have maybe 25% capacity and increase it as things go along, why wouldn't you do it that way? Because butts in the seats are more important in hockey than they are in any of the other sports. The NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NFL have massive TV deals. As long as they're playing, they're making money.
Right.
Not the case with the NHL.
Hey, last three in college football, because we skipped it past a couple. Someone was asking about Georgia, Missouri.
Yeah, Georgia's playing really well right now.
Yeah.
Missouri, great win last week. That was an incredible football game with Arkansas. They're improving. Don't know that this one means a whole lot to Georgia. So it's the type of game where, Georgia's much better team. They probably win, but I question their motivation here.
Penn State 15 against Michigan State.
I'm still not backing Penn State. I know they're starting to play a little better, but that wasn't exactly a sensational performance against Rutgers last week. I mean, they won and covered, but
I thought it was good. I thought the score was misleading because they kept getting stymied.
Yep.
In the red zone, so they had to settle for field goals. I thought the most impressive part for Penn State is they actually did look pretty solid on the offensive and defensive line, so that's a positive. But I get it. This is going to sound weird. I know, like, Rutgers never beats Penn State, but and I mentioned this last week before the game, for Franklin, in this situation, there is slightly more motivation to go in and try to kick the teeth in of Rutgers, because they recruit certainly
right.
Philly, but they recruit South Jersey well, and it's a good way to send the message again to Rutgers, the coaching staff, and and recruits in the state that, like, hey, they're nowhere near us. I don't know. I don't know what. I mean, it sounds crazy because Rutgers never beats them, but still, there's a recruiting part of it. So I don't know what the motivation is here to get go out there and blow away Michigan State.
Right. But the other thing is that Penn State all year has been just dog meat in the red zone. I mean, if they could have finished off red zone opportunities, they'd have a much different record than they do right now.
Right.
So that's still an ongoing problem for them is completing drives.
Now, the other side of that Penn State game, Rutgers is bouncing back to play Maryland.
It's a winnable game for Rutgers.
I think they got to change up their strategy a little bit because they were aggressive. They went for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 at midfield, and they got crushed both times. But they used the same plan they used against Purdue, where they were using a 2-quarterback system, and they've got a bigger kid, Langen, who's like 6'3", 230, who's kind of their fullback who plays quarterback in short yardage. But like they've done it for like 4 straight games. So Penn State's like, yeah, he's not running on us. The other thing is their starting quarterback is just he had a good game against Michigan, but Michigan sucks. Noah Vedral is just he's not a guy who can throw down the middle of the field. He
No.
has no zip, and they had it figured out. He was trying to turn the corner. Penn State's too fast, so I don't know. Rutgers has a backup who can actually really spin the ball and can throw it, but he's an idiot. Sorry to be mean to the kid, but he took a safety a couple weeks ago. I was like, dude, just throw the ball. But he's a risky guy because he thinks he can fit it in anywhere. They might want to roll him out this week instead, but I don't think they will. So that's my worry is there's going to be more mistakes at quarterback. Are you down on Maryland as to why you think it's?
No, I kind of like what I'm seeing from Rutgers, and Maryland's shown some improvement as well. But if it's a push comes to shove coaching thing in the fourth quarter, and I think these teams are pretty even, I'll take Schiano over Lockett. Okay. Loxley, rather.
Yeah, Loxley. All right. Other games we missed.
Army Navy.
Yeah, Army Navy is actually that one's up to Army 7.5, 8, 8.5.
Under. I think it's gone under 14 years in a row. Yeah. So there you go. And it probably will again because Navy's offense is really bad this year.
Wow, look at that number.
The defense is getting better. So I mean, this in the game, it's going to be a fast-moving game. They're not going to throw the ball much. It's going to be even the touchdown drives are going to be 7 minutes off the clock. It's been an under series. It's been the under series, and I figure it stays that way.
Yeah,
Army should win.
We had Ross Tucker on, who is on Army all the time for CBS, and he brought up the same exact thing, the total. Someone asked earlier, if you listen to the interview, Ross in the middle of the interview asked me if I'm into the interview, right? He's like, are you into this interview? Like kind of going at me. And I was like, yeah. Then he goes, hey, the guy I talked to just before you said he's better and you stink. Soren Petro says he's a lot better than you. And then I just started laughing. I was like, that's
funny.
Yeah, and then Ross admitted, he's like, yeah, Petro put me up to it. I'm like, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. There was one more game. Oh, San Diego State BYU. Letdown for BYU. San Diego State getting, is it still 17? 16 and a half. 16 and a half, 16.
The line, this was the most interesting handicap of the week to me because it's an obvious letdown spot for BYU. There's no way that the BYU is going to be fired up for this game. But the odds makers put it in the number. The odds makers know the same thing we do. And oftentimes they have the same opinion we do. So here's a line where the right price on power ratings is 18 or 18 and a half. At least that's where I have it. And my numbers are pretty good. And they opened the game like 14. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they opened it low. So that was, to me, clearly a reaction to losing at the buzzer and having nothing to play for in this game. And the math guys did what I thought they would do. That they don't care about, they don't bet teams or situations, they bet numbers. And they're going to see that number and they're going to bet BYU. Because at 14 and a half, it's value. I still don't want them. I mean, it's an absolute zero game for BYU. They'll have to talk themselves into getting excited for this. The downside for San Diego State is they can't score. So if they fall behind, who knows? But I think San Diego State, and I'm not betting it because I'm not getting the right price, but I think San Diego State has a good chance to cover.
All right. Dave Koken's here. You can find all the stuff at wagertalk.com. Let's go to the NFL, Dave. Giants in Arizona. Number 2 low now. People 2 down in Arizona. It's 3.
Let me get my numbers on the game.
Get your numbers. Let's go.
I made it 2.5.
Right.
I think people are down on the Cardinals right now. And is there really a difference between McCoy and Jones?
Nope.
I don't think so.
Maybe mobility,
Yeah, but you know what?
Threat to make a 6-yard run into 12.
The thing on McCoy is he's actually got an acceptable one-loss record in his career.
Yeah.
He's done okay. And I don't think he makes the mistakes that Jones makes. If Jones is playing on Sunday night, I don't know whether he is or not right now. But if Jones is playing, I think I'd take Arizona. Otherwise, might leave it alone.
And you've got a Murray who's dinged up, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Momentum. All right, maybe.
Well, there's something to be said for that. I mean, the Giants are playing their best football of the season right now, and Arizona's playing their worst football of the season right now. I think you got to factor that into some extent. It's not a 1 week thing either. The Giants have played much better football lately. Their defense is actually pretty good, and Arizona's going the wrong way. And I think I will get a wide majority of agreement on this. Judge looks like he's a lot better coach than Kingsbury. I'm not a Kingsbury guy. I didn't like the hire in the first place, and I sure wasn't. That was not an original, a unique perspective.
Right.
A lot of people said, "What? Who? You want to hire him as an assistant or a quarterback coach? Okay, fine, head coach. What did he do at Texas Tech to indicate that he can coach at a high level in the NFL? Nothing. And to me, he's not coaching at a high level in the NFL."
All right. Let's move on to Kansas City and the Dolphins. I think I've asked you this before. Do you believe in look aheads? And the other factor here is because as Rhino's numbers say, hey, big game's coming up.
It is.
What is it with the Chiefs? They got out of the gates pretty good with covers, and now they're 6-6 on the year. I do feel like the Chiefs take the foot off the gas pedal at different points in the game because they know they're so awesome, which isn't the most reliable feeling when you're laying 7. And last week they kept getting into scoring range and they kept kicking field goals and didn't even come close to sniffing the number against Denver.
Nope. And the Dolphins just keep overachieving. Last week they won a game and they won and covered against Cincinnati. They win by 12 in a game where did the offense score a touchdown in the game? They might have scored 1. They never converted a third down in the entire game. How do you cover a game like that? Well, they did because the Bengals screwed up a red zone opportunity, just completely fucked it up in the first half. And then they're down in the red zone again late in garbage time, and Finley has to come in the game because the other guy got hurt, and he throws a pick. Well, that's Finley. Miami's doing it with mirrors. I hope they keep doing it because I will tell you right now, if they're in the playoffs, I'm absolutely betting against them in the first round. You can basically chisel that in stone. Okay, they're just not that good. They're not that good. Flores is the coach of the year, and he's worked a miracle down there because this is a very average, less than average football team, and they might very well make the playoffs. And that's give the players full credit. They've been incredibly opportunistic. But when if they get to the playoffs, they think they'll get absolutely crushed.
Oh, wow. This is a bold prediction. Flores is a good coach. He will Belichick the Chiefs offense. Okay. I'd like to see it.
I have problems going against Kansas City. I haven't been betting on them, so it's not like I'm losing any money. But, man, when they put the pedal down, Mahomes is he's insanely good. He really is. I mean, just in terms of talent, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. He can do things that I've never seen out of the other quarterbacks do. His athleticism is phenomenal. His arm is it's a monster arm. I just wonder how many Super Bowls he's going to win, because it's not going to be just one. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Bucks reliable 6.5. Minnesota. Comment here about Bucks off the bye, and they did look better in the second half against the Chiefs.
Yeah, they did. Still something going on down there, and I can't put my finger on it, but they've had some really bad games.
Antonio Brown?
I don't think it's necessarily Antonio Brown, but it seems like wherever he goes, problems follow. So, I don't know. Maybe he is.
All right.
I don't want Minnesota either. Minnesota, though, I don't want them as a favorite, but as a dog, they've been kind of live. So they seem to play to whatever level their competition is. I mean, they sucked last week against Jacksonville, and were lucky to get out with the win. But they've had a few decent performances, too. Bucks have to stop Dalvin Cook. You got that right.
He's saying they are going to.
Well, that's
guys
easier
were-
said than done.
The guys were discussing under props for the game on Dalvin Cook.
I don't know. I don't do props. I have enough trouble figuring out the games themselves.
What's a rushing number for the game, guys? I can look it up, but you guys probably have it off the top of your head if you're playing it. I think this game, who put it up here? I think we got a bit of a trap because everyone's kind of riding high with emotion on a football team. Rivera for Coach of the Year. Okay, you know what?
He's doing a nice job there.
Yeah, no, but I mean, from betting this game though, we're feeling good about football team surprising the Steelers. We're feeling good about Alex Smith coming back
here.
That's what I think. San Francisco. These are the spots where I feel like they're a little undervalued.
And I think you're going to see
they're laying 3. Washington's coming cross country. The game's in Zona. What are you going to say? Go ahead.
I think you'll see a safe game plan from the 49ers here because they don't look. Last week they had to take chances on finding ways to score against the Rams. Little different story here against Washington, which has a very limited offense, and the running back for Washington's out.
Antonio Gibson,
he's having a great season. Yeah, I think I'd be on the 49ers here. I'm going to consider this one as a play. Shanahan, this team's not going to quit. I can guarantee you that. And I think maybe Washington's getting a little too much credit. They are doing a nice job, but they're still a pretty below average football team. I think the 49ers might get them here. Not by a monster margin, but they don't need to win by a monster margin. I think the 49ers defense got a little embarrassed last week, and this is still a good defense, even with all the injuries. I don't think Washington's getting many points in this game.
This would suggest to me that you might want to shop the number if these guys are correct on Cook rushing yards. Truth has 81.5. Brady has 88.5.
Wow. Oh, that's easy. Just bet them both. That's a no-brainer. That's a nice middle.
I was just looking to see Antonio Gibson. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, he's
659 and 11 touchdowns. They actually, when you look at it, as much as people are rotting up over Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's probably the third best rookie running back behind Gibson and behind James Robinson.
I would agree with that. Yep.
Really big numbers for Jacksonville.
And Helaire, he's terrific, but Gibson's had a phenomenal season.
Trying to see Edwards-Helaire's numbers. I usually check it every week because I have a bet with one of our Kansas City viewers, listeners, friend. So Helaire has 692 on the ground. What does he have receiving? So he's at 234. Yeah, one of our buddies wanted to bet 1,700 yards over under, total yards with receiving and running. And Adam Hill was quick to point out if Edwards-Helaire does not block on third down and block well, he ain't going to be out there. He's on a pace to catch 45, 42 balls. So that's good for a rookie. But 1,700 yards in your rookie season, rushing and receiving is a big number.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
that's a real big number.
And it's not like he's the focal point of their offense.
That's the problem. Is I got to break in that bet because I took the under. I got to break in the bet when they added Le'Veon Bell. So
yeah,
I knew that would happen. Not really. Okay, I like these games. So let's Steelers. Well, a lot of people believe the Steelers have value.
They do have value. Doesn't mean they're going to win the game, but the value bet is the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steelers
should not be the underdog.
Yeah, it's 1.5, 2. The Bills were favored.
Yeah, I think it was 2.5. It's actually come back a little bit.
Yep.
And again, doesn't mean the Steelers win, but they're the higher power rated team getting points, and that's generally if you just follow that recipe when it's there, you'll win more than you lose. Doesn't mean you'll always win. I took Nevada +3 tonight, which was clearly value on power ratings, and got my teeth kicked in the second half. So it doesn't always win. But I got closing line value. I love that. That's become the great excuse for a loss. Is but I got closing line value. Okay, you still lost the bet. Closing line value is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but it's too often used as an excuse for being on the wrong side of a game. And no matter how it got there, I was on the wrong side of the game tonight. I can bitch all I want about a bad call turning the game, but they were still ahead when that happened, and they completely screwed it up, and I was on the wrong side. It's a loss. That's it. Move on. So the same thing could happen with Pittsburgh on Monday, and I think you might end up with closing line value there if you took the 2.5 when it was available, because it's not going to be 2.5 on Monday night. The power rating guys, and there's a lot of money on those power ratings in the NFL, are going to take the Steelers in this game. The public looks like they'll take the Bills. Public doesn't lose that much more. This is one of the myths out there, is that, that's why, and I'm not going to mention their names because I don't like trashing other people or companies, but there's one, basically, their whole deal is you need to subscribe to us because we tell you with a sharp, follow the sharp money. But you never get the sharp number. It's already gone by the time they get the information out. So, it's like, well, here's what the sharps are betting. Well, that doesn't mean you should bet it, because if you're taking the worst of the line, you're going to lose in the long run. And I don't know. It's like people think the sharps win all the time. It's what, maybe 51-49, 52-48. That's about it. Public wins a lot of the time. Okay, they don't win. They lose more than they win, but not like the sharps. Not like the sharps hitting 60%. Okay, if it was just that easy to bet the sharp side, nobody would lose.
Something just hit me on the premise that you were talking about there. With, hey, we're going to have the information. We're going to get you the sharps take. I completely forgot about this. We had a investment company that advertised with us for like the last 5 years. And again, I'm not here to bash them because, hey, we need the money. But I would say buyer beware. Their pitch was, this is not sports betting. We're not touts. It's an investment company. And we only give out picks when we have the information, but they had picks every Monday, every Thursday, every Friday. They weren't around this year, so I don't know if they jumped to another station or if they just decided it wasn't worth spending the money this year. Or I'll make a joke here again. Come back. We could use your money.
They also change their name every year.
That was where I was going. Yep, they change their name every year, and the same guy has done it for the last 5 years. Yep. And I think he had a different name every year. So hey, whatever, man.
I think that probably plays in some markets.
I'm sure it does. Some of the newer markets. Maybe that's what Dave. Maybe that's what they did. They're like, hey, Vegas is a solid, from a volume standpoint, it's a good gambling market. But when we get a chance to go into some new cities and they don't know this whole thing, let's go. Well, let's go into New Jersey and Illinois as it's opening up, and Colorado and some of these other states.
Oh yeah, they're the sucker markets out there. There for sure. I never figured out why they advertised in Las Vegas, because everybody I know thought they were ridiculous.
But that's not true, though. That's
really?
Not true. It must have worked. First of all, they were on, like, spot on if we played the commercial, because they would call up and be like, you didn't play the commercial. Like, we didn't get our normal volume of calls.
Wow.
So they were getting calls. And the other thing is, I had a guy walk up to me at I think it was Crazy Horse 3, and he was talking about you a little bit, and then he goes, I'm looking at, I talked to these guys at the investment group, and they wanted $5,000 to do this, and this, and I was like, whoa. I'm like, I'm not here to badmouth them, but I was like, I think you need to be careful before you start dropping $5,000. Who knows? Maybe it was a fucking secret shopper for the company, and they were testing me. But when he said that, I was like, $5,000. I'm like, be careful. There's a lot of information out there, man.
Well, and I got news for him. If he spends the $5,000, they're going to come back with another package that costs $10,000 that has even better games.
Yep.
Those are good games, but if you really want the best games,
Yep. This is the next level of information. This is what you want.
and believe me,
Thanks.
I know firsthand how much money there was in that.
You were
I'm
around.
not-
You were
I
around
used
with
to-
the boiler rooms.
Yep. And people, the most amusing question I used to receive was, "Well, if you're so good, why don't you just bet the games yourself?" I'll show you one of my pay stubs.
Yeah.
Okay, and then tell me. Then there's your answer. Okay.
And by the way, you do bet the games yourself. So
I do. Yes, I do bet the
there are
games
people
myself.
who pick. There are people
is
who pick
why-
games who don't do it.
Yeah, which is why I'm still in. I usually let losses go after about 5 minutes, but I think this one cost me about 10 minutes tonight. I was in a really bad mood when we went on the air.
Saw that.
Go ahead, fucking Nevada game. I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't mind losing, but I hate it when my team just gives the game away.
And I was in a bad
Let me
position.
get
I was in a bad position because I didn't want to rub salt in the wound, and because I'm sure I bet a lot less than Dave did, but I was actually on San Jose State, so I was trying to.
Yeah, I know you were.
Yeah, I was trying to contain the fuck Reno angle, but because I don't want to pile on when there's real money.
No, that's not, you had the right side. You won.
Yeah.
And they once the opportunity knocked on their door, they absolutely kicked the door down. So good for San Jose State.
Dave Miller repping Coke and fucking Reno. God damn it!
I actually like Reno. I've enjoyed I haven't been there for several years, but I actually have enjoyed myself in Reno over the years. And some of the best meals I've ever had is at the Pepper Mill.
Yeah,
they got a couple of really good restaurants. The Pepper. I don't know if they're still there, but I used to go up there a lot when I was doing stuff for Top Rank Boxing because they had a lot of shows in Reno. And it was like, oh, beautiful. We're staying at the fights were at the Pepper Mill, and I was like, this is going to be a really good 2 or 3 days here. I'm going to eat real well. Going to have a nice time. Women in Reno were friendly. And they were. And
sure.
I enjoyed myself there.
That's a good way to grade a city. If you're winning on both sides, then let's do it. When was that? Like late 80s, early 90s? Or even further back?
Actually, late 80s into about the mid 90s, I guess.
Yeah, I think
because that was when Top Rank Boxing was still on ESPN.
Yeah.
And they had they had shows all over the place. And one of the regular stops was Reno. I was all over the place because I did the international feeds for them. So Reno, Nashville, Phoenix. Phoenix was scary. Phoenix was not fun. Phoenix, the only time twice I've been at fights where it's like, holy shit, I got to get out of here. One was the Tyson Holyfield incident. Did not want to be in the casino anymore when the shots got fired. It was shots being fired. And the other one was in Phoenix, and they had the fight card was in a flea market. It was literally in a flea market, and everything was right around the ring. And the entire crowd was Hispanic. And in the main event, a local kid who wasn't very good was taking on a Russian who was clearly superior. And he was acting like an asshole, okay? Because he knew he was better than the local kid. And the crowd.
Read the room.
Crowd was not happy, and they started throwing shit. Yep. And I literally, it's like, fuck this! I'm getting under the table. I got under the table that I was broadcasting from. So I'm not taking. I like the money I'm getting, and I enjoy doing the shows, but I'm not getting hit in the head with a bottle. Okay, and these weren't plastic bottles that were arriving. They were throwing everything. They were not happy, and we got out of there in a hurry. Those shows were great.
Were you at the parachute fight here in town?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How close were you to the parachute? Like other side of the ring, or
other side of the ring?
Yeah. What was that like?
It was bizarre. Because
did you want to jump in with one of those brick phones, like and start fucking hitting them?
No, it's like I was just crazy, and I think Riddick Bowe's wife passed out or something from what was going on, and she was pregnant at the time too. It was just a scary situation. That guy did get the crap knocked out of him.
Oh yeah,
and he kind of had it coming. I'll tell you one funny story. I can't mention names, but this was a show in Nashville, and Kelly Pavlik was on the way up at the time. Good fighter, and he wasn't even the headliner on the card. So, it was but it was a low. It was just one of those road shows, and the event was taking place in a bar, literally in a bar, where they had a ring set up, and it was like, and the peanut shells all over the floor and stuff like that. I was like, this is crazy. So, anyways, one of the ring girls, she wasn't really attractive. Okay, she had a few excess pounds and a big space between her teeth. I'm talking, like a Leon Spinks space between her teeth. Okay, it's like, how did she end up as one of the ring girls? And it was revealed to me by someone else, not involved, that the person hiring the ring girls had promised her a spot if she provided. Yeah. So she paid off, and so did he. And it was like
it was a banging tryout, a banging interview.
I mean, it was like she would be I'm pretty sure the least attractive ring girl I've ever seen, and it was just but those road shows were a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, UFC over the years kind of upped the whole thing with the card girl. We had one of them in. Goddamn, I'm blanking on her name, but she was tiny too, like Dave was dwarfing her.
Oh, the blonde girl.
Yeah, she only lasted like 2 years because her and there was another taller chick, a brunette.
Ariana was the hottie.
They those two did not like Ariane and just busted her balls. Ariane is like one of their big stars at the time. She was.
I still have a picture with the blonde.
Oh yeah. So do I. I have the same picture.
She was cute. Real cute.
Pull that out next week. Yeah, she was cool too. Like, not to say Ariane's not a good interview, but she's not. This one actually, when she came in, she was fun. She didn't think we were weirdos. She could kind of roll with the punches. So,
I've always been I'm still not into females fighting. Never have been. I mean, to me, you're
gonna bring up your favorite?
No, well, what was it? It was what's his name's ex-wife?
Yeah, I remember this interview.
Kim Couture.
Because was it before a fight or after? Because she got beat up. Yeah, and you basically just lectured her for like the 20 minutes she was on about fighting, and like, why are you doing this? You're hot, you're pretty. What are you doing?
Yeah, and then she went in and sucked. she had no talent. She wasn't good. She should have been better off saying, if you want to get involved, get on the microphone.
Yeah.
She's it was her ex-husband, but she still had a door in, I would think, as far as interviewing goes. And she was a really good-looking girl, and a nice personality too. Yeah. I like Kim, but she couldn't fight. And
I had to stop. I would follow her on Twitter. It got real Trumpy.
Okay.
Months. Yeah, it got real Trumpy. I was like, okay.
No, that's all right. I think I don't automatically dislike somebody. I think Gina Carano's into that too, right?
She is into it. Yes. Yes.
I haven't seen Gina in years, but I like her. And I'm sure I still like her.
I like Gina too, but there's only so much of the, election fraud stuff that I can tolerate. So,
yeah, if somebody really believes it,
that I'm not following her on Twitter.
If somebody believes it, that's their right to bitch about it all they want. I don't care. I'm not going to change my mind, but each to their own.
AJ Real says Dave needs to start a podcast featuring all of his stories. Hey AJ, how about we're already doing it, brother? We already came up with that. That's what we're doing. We'll mix in more Dave stories as we do more of these shows.
Yeah, got to do it quick though.
We don't want Dave stolen. Why do you have to do it quick?
Well, I'm getting old. I'll start forgetting him.
Well, I'm not going to say this reminded me of you because it actually reminds me of me telling the story sometimes. This is off the beaten path for betting. But did you see, what was it, like 10 days ago, Skip Bayless told a story about Jimmy Johnson, right? He told him a story about the whole Herschel Walker thing and that like Skip had some behind the scenes scoop and off the record, Jimmy told him this. And then Jimmy Johnson's like, I didn't tell you that. Basically, like, you're fucking lying. But the first thing I thought of was Skip may have thought that's what happened. Now I know there are not many people who are going to back Skip, and the immediate thing is like Skip's lying, right? Because he lied about it, like his high school basketball career, which is, you think about it, you're like, dude, it's so absurd. Why you're fucking like 70? Why are you still trying to play it up like you were some great athlete? But
70 and making what, $6 million a year?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a legit case. Like there are old stories that I have, and I'm like, do I have every detail right? Maybe that's not correct.
Oh yeah, you can forget stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing I've always done, and you'll notice this, is I don't use names very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe me, I got some beautiful stories over the years, but can't tell some of them because you'd have to mention a name, and you're not supposed to do that. Even if it's a dead guy, I don't like mentioning the name.
Well, there's, now it's a lot easier to go back and check the record, the receipts. If someone actually said that or did that, or
where would Jimmy Johnson have ever told Skip Bayless this? By the way, because Skip Bayless, to my knowledge, hasn't been in a locker room in 40 years.
Oh, I think he was around then, but I don't know what their relationship was. Maybe it was good and now it's shit. Maybe it was always shitty.
Could be. Well, who knows? Skip's done well for himself. He's got a shtick, which I think his whole shtick, I've always said this, is he looks at whatever is taking place, decides what's the most contrary stance I can take. I'm going to go that way. I don't think he believes half the stuff he says, but it works. I mean, you can knock him all you want. He's gotten paid a lot of money to do that stick.
This is an argument I've had so many times with certain people on this podcast and also who contribute to the show, who are like, I don't want to sink that low. Okay. I guess you have, morals and ethics, but, $3, $4, $5, $6 million a year. You think those guys, most of them give a shit about, throwing something out that, might not be accurate or playing the embrace debate thing? Who cares?
No, they'd be just another guy.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I won't sell my soul, Dave.
Nobody ever asked me to, but there's a good chance I would have if they did.
Now you would.
I'm not going to kid around. If somebody says, okay, we're going to build you into a superstar and get you $5 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to have to, Dave, you're going to have to take stances sometimes that you don't truly believe in, but you got to sell them. And hell, down the road, we might have you switch it to the other side. You might completely contradict yourself and someone might call you on it. But your salary is $6 million a year. You going to do it?
Sure. Get some great vacations on, I mean, you go in first class and all your vacations, and you get them whenever you want too. Now, I'm not going to be a hypocrite about that. And situations never come up, but if it would, I would never stoop to that level. Okay, I would.
Yeah, and I'm not ripping this commenter, but we get this all the time. Like, I want to know who's watching these shitty shows. Obviously, lots of people. I'm not here to rip the general sports audience, but a lot of the sports audience doesn't get to watch sports like we do. You guys are all P1s. You guys watch a lot of sports who are in the chat room. There are a lot of people who sports is their outlet. They want to talk about the extremes. They want to have guys on, polar opposites. That's why, Skip's got like 10 topics that he just rotates. That's why he carries on a LeBron, rip fest for 14 years, only because it's good business. He doesn't care. Oh, that's so outrageous. Like, yeah, but you keep eating it up. Stop eating it up and I'll stop doing it.
The role model was Cosell.
Yep.
He was the most successful in his time. He was by far the most successful sports commentator. There was nobody even close to him, and everybody hated him. But they watched all the time. All the time.
Yep.
He used to sell out bars. I mean, I'm going back to my days in Rhode Island. Every bar in town that showed the game, and they'd have the game on one TV. And then there'd be an extra TV that they'd have auctions where if you won, you got to throw a brick through the TV.
That's it. Yep. That's it.
I mean, this stuff actually happened.
I brought this story up probably, I don't know, 6-8 months ago for some reason. We were probably talking about the same topic, and I was like, Cosell, if he was marketed like this, if they had embraced debate talk shows, or even him just sitting there like Cowherd and just talking to himself, he would have. I mean, he was massive already. But you mentioned the brick thing. I remember they had foam bricks. That was a marketing campaign to buy your foam brick because you don't want to break your TV at home.
Right.
They had co-cell foam bricks, and you throw the freaking foam brick. And whoever was on the podcast was like, "That's stupid. That sounds ridiculous." I'm like, he was massive. He was a tune in every Monday night, and he was a volatile guy. I mean, that's a guy like if now people might hold back because you got money partnerships, you got networks and all that. Cosell was just like,
forget about it.
No one's my fucking boss.
No, I don't think that would have ever changed with him either.
No, his ego was too big. He that's the other thing. He would have been one of those guys. He would have been like I was just going to say like a super talented Whitlock. I'm not saying Whitlock's not talented because it takes talent to do what Jason Whitlock does. But Jason Whitlock is also a guy who's now on like job 8. Cosell might have been one of those guys, or Cosell might have been so big that he was damn near close to untouchable. Yeah, he'd be like, I cannot believe he got away with it.
I think that the guy out there now who would falls closest to that category is Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah,
he's said some pretty outrageous things over the years, and it's like anybody else, they're gone, or they're reduced in terms of their significant role. He ain't going anywhere because people watch, and a lot of people don't like him, but they watch him. And that makes him very good at what he does.
Yeah.
Because what his job is to get views, get eyeballs, and he gets them.
Yeah. This is a good touche. Well, no, you know what? We weren't talking about today. I was talking about if the concepts of today existed back then. Brady's right. The little monkey comment, or look at that monkey go. Yeah, he'd be dead meat now. But Cosell was speaking in that era, and in that era, sadly, and I still.
In his case, it wasn't really a negative comment because
it really wasn't.
He called his own grandchildren little monkeys. That's what he called them.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, obviously, that would not be acceptable now, and it kind of wasn't then because it got misunderstood.
Right.
But he didn't mean it in the way people thought he meant it.
Oh, and his defense, Dave, was, listen, this running back on the Redskins. You're saying I'm racist against him. Like, I was the guy who helped bring back Ali. Like, tried to deliver to America that this guy's not a terrible guy. The military stuff. Like, let me try to explain for Muhammad and give him a chance here. And Muhammad Ali was brilliant on his own. I don't know that he needed help, but Cosell was not deep down. I don't think Cosell was racist.
No, and those interviews were.
Oh my God,
they were gold. They just played off each other so well.
They were real life. I mean, I think they knew both knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah,
but they were real life. Embrace debate with an athlete, a current gigantic athlete, and a broadcaster.
And they actually really liked each other.
Of course, yeah.
That was pretty clear.
You want me to give you a cheesy story, and it'll be real quick. I mean, really quick. Cosell had such impact that I think as a 5th grader, I may have. I don't know what the premise was. It was probably like write about your job wish, or write about someone you admire. And I wrote an essay about Howard Cosell at like 12, 11. It's just like, looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? I guess he had an impact on a freaking 12-year-old, and I like sports a lot, so I knew who he was.
Everybody knew who he was.
Maybe kids are doing that today with Stephen A. Smith. Maybe they are. They could be.
I don't think there's anybody quite that's at that level.
Yeah.
But Stephen A. is pretty good. Even though I might vehemently disagree with him on some topics, and actually I don't watch the show. But he's very good at what he does. He's gone from a sports writer, and he was a writer, to, I don't know if he writes anymore or not. He doesn't have to. And he is, I think is he the most valuable property at ESPN at this point?
Yeah, probably. Aside from the TV contracts, as a personality, he's the most valuable person, and he's the most untouchable because he's pissed off people. He's crossed the line a few times here and there, and they're not getting rid of him now.
Oh, no. I mean, they're laying off people left and right. He ain't going anyplace. He's getting a raise.
Now he's brilliant because obviously every day our jobs are to come up with angles, and they're just like I almost restrict myself. I'm like, that's just too silly. I'm not doing that. And I see Stephen A. do it, and he just sells it so well. I'm like, well, I'm gonna let him do it. I'll fucking play the audio on the show and react to it. So I mean that, I don't. Maybe that's looked upon as like lazy by myself, but I think it's a compliment to him. I'm like, man, I hadn't even thought of that, and I am not going to go over the top this much on it, but Stephen A. will, and now I can use him as a tool on my show.
Yeah, and he gets it that it's show business. It's show business. I mean, I spent some time with him when he was covering fights out here. He's a completely different guy off.
Totally different. Not bombastic.
No.
Nope.
Actually, very quiet, but a nice guy. I mean, very nice guy, not stuck on himself or anything like that. But it's like, wow. I mean, it's just different when the camera goes on.
Let's. I wanted to break down 2 more NFL games, and then we're out of here.
Right.
We appreciate everyone sticking around and having a good time with us. So make sure when you make sure to check out the audio versions, even if you don't listen to them. I usually send them out the next morning. We're up on iTunes and Spotify and iHeart. Subscribe and like. And again, if you don't listen, I want you to listen, but you already watched it here. But spread the word that people don't have to sit there. If they're in their car or something watching a video, we actually have audio, so you can just download it. JBT was making a decent case for Philly this week. Jalen Hurts is out there. Philly, it's a weird deal because you got a lot of players on Philly backing Carson Wentz. I'm not saying they're going to freaking jake it on purpose to screw over Jalen Hurts.
No.
But that said, is this number too big? Is New Orleans going to destroy Philadelphia at 7.5?
New Orleans got that big game coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little scary. But I'll give you my take on Jalen Hurts. I just don't think he's got the arm. You got to have. To me, there are very few quarterbacks in the NFL that can succeed without a gun,
right?
And he just doesn't have one. He just doesn't. I mean, he throws a softball, and you can't miss when you throw softballs. It's kind of like the old Jared Weaver thing in Major League Baseball. When he was locating his stuff, he could get by at 87, 89, but once he lost the location, he just got destroyed. In the NFL, it's even worse. I don't think he's a starting quarterback.
Yeah, this worries me too. From Follow Fade that Peterson has motivation. There are people out there that think Hurts is just being put on the field to show, hey, it's not Wentz. It's not Wentz. Look, this quarterback can't get it done either. I would hope he's not going to do anything to screw the kid over.
But he's putting him out there against what has arguably been as good a defense as he'll find in the NFL this year.
Yep. And Philly, as Chris Cash says, Philly is banged up. Jason Peters done for the year with a toe, and so they already beat the F at tackle position. So it's ugly. 27-3, huh? All right.
I certainly could see the under in that game because I don't know whether the Saints. It's off. The offense is somebody said that Hill might be better fit than Brees. No, it's not. Okay, Hill's not a better fit than Brees. Hill is a better fit doing what Hill does as an alternative to Brees, but he's not a great starting quarterback.
Hill
might get better as time goes on.
This one will go up your alley. Hill might be better than say like Nick Mullins.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Hill might eventually be a quality starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Mullins is never going to be a starting quarterback. He's just not good enough. No, Hill has not reached his ceiling yet. And I think he's going to be helped as far as the future goes by the starts he's getting this year. But once Brees is ready to play, he's back on the field. Hurts. Hurts, look, let's face it. I mean, he basically had to transfer to Alabama or he was going to sit and watch Tua. A transfer from Alabama. So it kind of tells you something there. I think I think he can be a decent backup, but I just don't see him as a starting quarterback. And I could be dead wrong. Won't be the first time.
The Hill story is kind of amazing, though. Am I correct? Am I correct on this, though? Is he actually older than Cam Newton?
Possibly he could be.
Yes.
I don't know.
He's 30. He was born in August of 90. Was Cam born after him? How crazy is that? That Cam's career is probably come and gone. Now Cam's a little bit older. Cam's about 6 months older. Only 6 months older though of Taysom Hill. Well, then
Big 6 months, evidently.
There's a lot more wear and tear. The guy's been playing football forever.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of wear and tear. And I guess he'll stay in as the starter for now, Belichick says, but
Oof.
I don't think Cam's going to be getting a big contract from anybody in the offseason. This hasn't gone well.
No, it has not. Especially last 3 weeks have been ridiculous. Last one. People have been asking about Monday Night Football. This one's pushed up. Ravens as high as 2.5 against the Browns.
Well, Cleveland won a big game last week and played well. Can they do it 2 weeks in a row? They're playing good football right now. I think the Ravens. I made the Ravens a small favorite in the game, but I'm not going to be laying points. But Baltimore, I thought they played their best game in a while last week. And granted, they had some things that were set up nicely for them in that game, but that was a confidence boost for a team that needed one. The Browns have to try and duplicate what they did last week. They were really good last week. And I shouldn't be knocking them. I think 9-3 now. Is that right? I mean,
correct.
They're turning out to be better than I thought they would be. I still had some skepticism about this team, but they're getting there. That's actually a terrific game. I don't know what to do with that.
All right, everybody. Appreciate it. Make sure you go meet or check that. Go check out Meetup, one of our sponsors. You can go up to meetupvegas.com and you get money off your deal, Leo. Giant boxes of meat. Really good stuff, man. I've tried just about everything, and without fail, it's been really quality stuff. And you use the code Cofield, you can save money. So go to meetupvegas.com. Go to wagertalk.com. That's where Dave is, and Dave's having a good football season. So you want to go check out all his stuff, and there's great videos up there. And I don't know, Dave, how many different voices are there now? You guys have
we've got a big roster.
Okay.
Big roster. Yeah, the football's been okay, not great. I've not been on the right side of some close ones, and the basketball has sucked so far, but hopefully we'll get that straightened out. At least I had UCLA tonight.
There you go.
I got one right.